Travis with TechRaptor back at Gen Con 2019, and I am with Thomas from Free League, and we are going to talk about the awesome Crusader Kings board game. Why don't you tell us about the game for gamers that haven't experienced Crusader Kings in the tabletop form?
Sure. I mean, yeah, as you mentioned, it's based off of the computer game Crusader Kings 2 by Paradox Interactive, and this is a game that we have created in partnership with them. And the challenge and the purpose of this game is sort of to boil down that Crusader Kings experience with all that juicy medieval drama and boil it down to a format that you can actually play on the tabletop in just 3 hours or a bit more. So what we've done is sort of to bring all of that stuff, the things that you do in Crusader Kings, the computer game, to manage your dynasty, your family, to make sure the right person inherits your throne, all that intrigue that you can do, but it's boiled down into a more streamlined format using cards and trait tokens and things, so you can get all of that action going a bit faster than in a computer game, but while retaining that essence, that feel. That's what we're doing.
So it looks like a grand strategy game,
yeah,
but it's more than that.
It is more than that. I mean, there is strategy for sure, but I think what sets it apart, and really the focus, is actually what's happening around on these family boards, around the big map, because that's where you manage your family, and that's really key to get to have children, make sure the right children inherit your throne, and then you will have these events that cause drama and stories to emerge as you play the game. And that's a big part of the game is what happens to all of these characters. It's almost like a Sims type game where you get attached to these. They become characters that you play, and they some suffer horrible fates. Some go on to sort of marry someone, and cool things happen, and these stories are really a key thing, I think, both in the computer game and in this board game, that what you remember are the stories. Of course, you want to win the game, but I think it's more important to actually walk away with a story to remember than who actually won. That's there, but I think the stories are prime focus.
And so, can you walk us through a little bit of the process of distilling that huge computer game that takes dozens and dozens of hours down into a tight, three-hour experience?
Yeah, of course. We had to simplify things or make things a bit more abstract. One example is the trait system. In the board game, each character, all the characters on the board, you will have characters on your family board, which are your dynasty and your royal family, but then you also have potential spouses that you can marry in all these independent territories across Europe. And they all have traits, but in the board game here, each character has one trait, which is represented by these trait tokens. For example, you have Matilda the Deceitful over there, you have Hildegund the Chaste here, and all these characters, they have these trait tokens, and what they do is, when they become part of your family by marriage or in other ways, their traits will become part of your dynasty. And that means they go into this trait bag, and instead of rolling dice, you draw these trait tokens. And that's one way to sort of bring together the dynasty building and the family management and the traits, and to give them a concrete, real effect on whatever else you do on the board. And this is one example how we sort of boil down something that in the computer game is very complex, with lots of statistics and numbers, into just a couple of tokens. But you still achieve a similar effect, but with a much more, boiled down means, basically.
And so, can you talk to us about the action cards? So each action card has an event.
Yep.
That after you take the action, the event kicks off.
Right.
How did you decide which events to add? Which ones were too chaotic, maybe?
Yep.
Which ones were too tame?
That was a big part of the design process, to design these events, because like in the computer game, you also have these events that will trigger. There they trigger because of some algorithms and some random choice. Here in the board game, you have actions on top, and whenever you want to play this card to perform this action, this is a build-develop card, so you will be building a castle or developing a realm in some way. But then you will trigger the event. In this case, a child is born, but not to you, to another player. So basically, the events are usually negative for you or positive for another player, so negative for you in a sense. So, and these events are also, because they create all these little stories, and they also can put obstacles to your perfectly laid plans and throw a wrench into whatever you were planning on doing. So you have to sort of balance those events. You have some control over when they occur, but you cannot control what will happen, only sort of have some control over when. And that's getting those events right, and because that's where all the story comes out. Was a big part of the design process, and some of them are fun, some are tragic, some are sad, some are a bit funny, and they cover a whole range of things that can happen.
Yeah, and they're all definitely memorable. I never thought that I would play a board game that would have my wife and I excitedly talking about which of our children we wanted to kill.
Yeah, that feels very Crusader Kings.
Right.
And that's the kind of things that that can happen in this game.
So can you tell me a little bit about these miniatures? So I'm unfamiliar with the miniatures. I've played the base game.
Yeah, exactly.
These ones here.
These ones here are the miniatures included in the expansion set. There is a small expansion set available already at launch, and basically what they do is, in the base game you have the development cards, 24 of them. There are 12 types, of 2 of each. And the bonus miniatures, actually there's a miniature for each development card. So you have the Spy Master card, and in the bonus set you have a Spy Master miniature. So part of it is to visualize these more, so you can just sort of get a better sense of what they are. But the expansion set also includes bonus rules, where you actually place, you send these off on missions. So like you can send your Spy Master across Europe, and then you place these miniatures there. And that has a different effect from compared to if you have your Spy Master back at the Royal Court. So if you with these bonus rules, you can send your counselors out into the world, basically. We're using these extra miniatures. So that's a little bonus.
Excellent.